Yo, what's poppin'? All my peeps. It is I, your host with the most, Renaissance man who always thinks he can, and champion of the peeps, Patty Pitts, back for another Raw Rewind part of Pitts and Sara's wrestling show. 4th of July edition. Happy 4th to all our peeps out there. But you can't have the Raw Rewind without the best of the West. You can't forget about Sara Marshall. Sara, what's popping, girl?
Hey, yo.
Hello.
Hello.
I just want everyone to see this really quick because we were talking about wrestling shirts. It's wrestling shirt season. Remember you were
It's
saying?
wrestling shirt season. Absolutely. So there we go.
Guys, I finally have it.
Imperium.
It is very exciting. That
awesome.
lighting is horrid back there.
That was what we got. What kind of lighting we got down there in Arizona?
Well,
is it also 114 degree light heat?
Oh,
too?
it's. I think it's hotter than that. Let me see.
There's no fucking way.
It's supposed to be 120 next weekend, so it's 110 right now.
You should go outside and try to fry an egg on the concrete.
Oh, that wouldn't be that hard. People were making cookies in their windshields. I've seen that on the news before. Just put some raw cookie dough on a cookie sheet on your windshield. You get cookies.
That's awesome.
I know. I was like, that sounds a lot more appetizing than an egg.
Oh, 1,000% more appetizing.
It would just take longer to make the cookies, but
yeah. But like, what else you gotta do? Put the cookies on the windshield. Grab your lawn chair and then your laptop or phone, wherever you watch stuff on YouTube, and watch us talk about wrestling. I mean, we already had 800 people this weekend check out our Jungle Boy video. Thank you for that.
I know.
And I think it's Sara. It's a nice little intro to maybe we gotta get you into AEW, because I just watched. I caught up. If you didn't see my tweet last night, I was on a boat, so we had to. Great tweet. Great tweet. And so I watched all my shit today, including AEW Collision, which wasn't bad, and I think Collision would be a good start for you, because a lot of it is just old school classic WWE type of wrestling. And when I say that, like the way they stack the show, the way they have like the same, faces throughout the show. Mm-hmm. It may not be your favorite with CM Punk.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's a lot of good there still. FTR is awesome. Ricky Starks is the man. And then Bullet Club Gold. I think we're going to become Gun Club fans. I'm just saying, the Guns paired up with the Bullet Club. Can't believe that Colton and whatever the other one's name is.
You don't even know their names?
Because I don't care. They're electric. I just know them as the Guns or the Ass Boys.
All right. Let me see what their names are.
Colton.
Austin.
It's the easiest one.
Yeah.
They have really come a long way. And I love Jay White and Juice Robinson. So anytime I get to watch the Bullet Club, it's nice. We think it's
Yeah.
Yeah, you go.
I want to make sure that I show people, because I don't think anyone was here when I showed my shirt.
Okay.
I'll show it later when there's more people.
When we talk about said.
Oh yeah. Sorry, I got excited.
I love the enthusiasm, because it was a good show, Sara. It was a very good show.
I know. I forgot that you were like doing your like 4th of July plans yesterday. So I was like, why haven't I heard from him? Like, we're not even talking about what's happening right now. And then I'm like texting you, and then you're like, I'm not watching right now. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, we were celebrating America. We had my peeps over by the pool, the Pitts pool, hung out, threw down a couple Teddy Brewskis. And then I got a call asking, hey, we have a boat at a yacht club. We have free beer on the boat. Would you like to come? I mean, the champ never turns down a party invite. So we went there. And I honestly thought my tweet of I'm on a boat was just a great drunk tweet because you have people who just spew and go on, and they should not be allowed near social media when they get into that state. But just
Yeah.
simple, I'm on a boat. That's it. That's all you need to do. Social media lessons from the champ right now. All right.
All right.
That's what I'm trying to do. If you're in the CP one tweet, something simple, grammatical sentences. But yes, enough about my night. I want to talk about Raw, Sarah. Sarah, it was
All right.
awesome. It was really good.
Should we just jump in?
Yeah.
Okay. So Cody Rhodes versus Brock Lesnar part 3 appears it's officially on after we were disappointed with Brock not wanting to take the private jet with
Yeah.
Roman
Okay.
Reigns to across the pond. He decided exactly what we said he was going to do, was to show up on Raw. So Seth opens the show. Cody decides to interrupt, which I was like, please God, no, because my initial thought is like, no, we were literally just talking about, and even Cody talked about during his press conference that it's not about the World Heavyweight Championship. And I was like, don't start this. Like, don't.
Don't do it.
That was
Don't
my
do it.
initial thought, and I was getting irritated, not just at that, but at the idea of Finn not being involved again anymore. And I was like, no. So as Cody's there and he's about to start saying something, Brock's music hits. And then Cody just becomes a different person. He's like, wait a second, and just like rips off his jacket. And then he gets into like man mode. And he just goes and starts trying to beat up Brock. Brock sets him up for the F5. Cody gets out of it, hits a Cody cutter, and then Brock rolls out of the ring. And that's it. So then we're like, okay, Cody versus Brock is back on. Okay, cool. But how did you feel about that? Because that is not something, I don't even know if we've ever seen a moment where Brock has backed down or just like been hit once and then was like, cool, bye. Like, I don't remember ever a time where Brock has done that. So that kind of made me feel a little like, eh.
No, I mean, it was not something we're used to. I liked it for the sense that I enjoyed this whole opening segment to start because yes, you have Seth Rollins kick things off, doing his usual interaction with the fans. And then you have Cody come out full gear, by the way.
I
Keep
know.
that in mind for when we a little later. Full gear, and I liked how they did this because you think that he's going to challenge Seth because he finally got over Dom. Okay, Brock is a coward, allegedly, according to him, and it's not going to fight him. So you know what? The next opponent up for me is to go after the world's heavyweight champ. Great. It logistically makes sense for the psychology. And then to have Brock's music hit as he is going to, we'll say, start that feud with Seth, it's that it takes away that predictability that everyone was thinking about when him coming out and interfering at Money in the Bank, which I heard that he only did not come to Money in the Bank because of the other return that happened to Drew McIntyre. They didn't want to take away from McIntyre's.
I
Wow.
feel like that wouldn't have though, because Brock's not been gone since Mania. I
But
mean, I
you
understand the logic to an extent, but like Drew's been gone for a few months. Brock's been gone since the last pay-per-view.
agreed, but from a fan's perspective of, oh, you saw so many returns, they're also going to probably have the thought of, oh, we didn't get Brock coming out, weird, but Drew McIntyre came back. So
I
all
guess.
you're thinking about is Drew McIntyre coming back, where you don't even care that Brock didn't show up and attack Cody like you thought he would. So I was all right with that. I love that, to be honest with you. And the fact that you had Brock back down a little bit, it makes the feud that a little bit more interesting because Cody is standing tall. And you're like, whoa, Brock doesn't do this. It gives Cody a little bit more strength heading into that third match with a stipulation, whatever that is. Maybe Brock coming out of the ring alludes to what to say. I don't know. But the point, I liked it that it was not your standard cookie cutter.
Yeah, I felt kind of mixed about it. Like I liked the fact that it was different, like you said. not expecting that at all. You know, we had been talking for however many weeks now that we were kind of expecting and hoping that Brock was going to come out, whether it be at Money in the Bank or at the Raw afterwards, and just like beat the shit out of Cody. That's what we thought was going to
Yeah.
happen. And that's not what happened. So the fact that we got basically the complete opposite is surprising, but I think at the same time it plays into the typical mold of WWE where they want you to have a short-term memory, because Brock wouldn't this is not something Brock would ever do. I mean, we're not even a year removed from like the last match he had with Roman Reigns where they were doing everything possible to get the other one to stay down. I mean, to the fact of him,
Literally.
yeah, to like lifting the ring, putting tables on top of each other, you know, like, but now we're supposed to believe that a Cody cutter was enough for Brock to be like, all right, I'm good. You know what I mean? Like, I like, we complimented the like evolution of Brock when we spoke about their 2 bouts up to this point, and said how it's cool to see Brock get more involved in a match that has more to do with wrestling rather than just doing the most over the top big man moves, because that's what he had to do for so long against Lashley and against Roman. So this is like that completely opposite side of the spectrum where you kind of remember like, oh yeah, he does have a wrestling background, so like this is something that he's not unfamiliar with. So I mean, I like that, we like it, we talked about that. But I think sometimes, you know, when you are a fan that watches every single week and maybe you're more of like a I don't know, not like a literal, you're, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, like it's difficult to forget something like what was going on with him and Brock.
Short-term memory. You're gonna have a memory like an elephant.
There's a certain word I'm trying to think of and I can't think of it, but it's difficult to like forget that and then just look at what is presently happening because it wasn't that long ago. So, you know, I think that this is going to develop into something interesting. It's already been interesting up until this point, and obviously we kind of don't really know the direction that they're going to go in for SummerSlam. We don't know what the stipulation is going to be, since that's probably what is going to end up happening, and it's kind of unpredictable about who they would have come out as the winner, I would say, because I think it could really go either way, because it goes, either result plays well into Cody's story. So in that aspect, I kind of like it. And then I guess this is nice because it does make Cody look strong, which he hasn't the last few times that him and Brock have been face to face. So yeah. So there is that. So that is exciting. Oh, I'm seeing we have so many comments.
Yeah, I was looking through. I didn't see really any for.
Oh, I saw this one right here.
Oh, geez. Okay, even more. Here we go. Yeah.
I do wish Brock returned and cost Cody at Money in the Bank. Dom could win, gain that heat, and still had the match with Seth on Raw, stating that he earned it. Yeah, that's what we were even saying before when we were talking about our predictions, and what we were saying when we reacted. We were saying it just felt kind of like a pointless match for Cody to win. It was just kind of like, okay, he lost his last match at the, you know, the live premium live event. Now let's give him a win. But at the end of the day, it did nothing for him, and it would have done a whole lot for Dom. And so, yeah, I even if, yeah, that's what we were thinking was going to happen. So I completely understand what you're saying with that.
I don't really have anything else to add because you're right. Yeah.
Oh, okay. And then he also says, I do wish we had a reason why Brock attacked Cody, but that might not be revealed until after SummerSlam. If you mean the original reason, yeah, I think they're never going to touch on that. I think that, again, short-term memory. We're supposed to not remember that Cody just...
We're not supposed to remember that Brock was pissed that he opened the show or Cody invented or whatever that bullshit.
Yeah, at first we weren't even supposed to speculate about why he did it. And then it was like, oh, Corey was like, oh, I think it's because he's mad that he opened the WrestleMania. And it's like, that's worse than just not providing a reason at all.
That's lazy. That is, unless you're actually going to go full throttle with it and have it be just, I would say, like a red herring to the real reason. Yeah. Then sure, go with it. But too much time has passed.
Yeah, that just felt like a last-ditch effort to try and make sense of something, because people were complaining about, like, wait, what? Like, what? This doesn't make any sense. But, yeah, I don't know that we're ever going to get a reason, honestly. Um,
Okay.
then still at the beginning of the show, because as I said, Seth Rollins did open the show. Um, so once they came back after that, which I thought was hilarious, that Seth like stood in the ring for a good moment while Brock and Cody were like,
That's what
"Oh, we're
I
going at it."
love this. I wanted
Yeah.
to talk about
And
this.
then he
This
like
is
just
awesome.
ducks out, and then we come back from commercial and Seth is still just standing there. I was like,
I love that so much because what it did was it's like you put Brock and Cody did their thing, but then it's like just Seth being like it has nothing to do with him. It's like you interrupted me. You
yeah.
interrupted the champion. All right, now I'm gonna get to my actual business. And then who interrupts next? It's like, oh come on! Like it adds another, and it's a little continuity that you don't see. Like you think, oh, because they feud, it's over, next thing. But it's like, oh, they're back, so you have to keep watching.
Well, and I think it plays into the short-term memory thing, because any other time, you know, when you've seen someone start Raw and then they get interrupted and then maybe something else happens that doesn't involve them, you come back from commercial and we're just on to the next thing, and then you never figure out, you're never told why that person started the show or why that person was ever out to begin with. So this was
Yeah,
kind of like, oh, okay, Seth was out for a purpose, and it wasn't just to be the setup for Cody and Brock, you know? So
yeah.
that was kind of nice. So he was just talking about how he was ready for whoever was next in line for the World Heavyweight Championship. And that is when Judgment Day came out. And I was immediately bummed because Finn was not there.
Oh,
So I was like, oh
boo-hoo.
gosh, here we go. And they played it off being like, oh, Finn is not here, but like it's none of your business what he's doing or why he's not here. And they were just kind of like looking at each other, and I was like, oh, they're selling this really well, but okay. So Damian tells him that he needs to worry about him because he is Senor Money in the Bank. I
I
love
love
that.
how he how he corrected them too.
Yeah,
Like he's Senor. I
I
love
know, and I love that because it's so him, you know, it's so personal to him, so it's making his reign as the Money in the Bank winner feel, I don't know, you know, like more unique, like
legitimate.
more direct to him, which I think is
Yeah.
different because no one else has ever been saying like, oh, this is, no, I'm not Mr. Money in the Bank, I'm this.
Mm.
So he says he will cash it in whenever he wants. It could be in a few months, it could be in a few weeks, or it could be tonight. He mentions oh wait, no, we already said that. They already mentioned that Finn wasn't there. So Priest said that if he didn't already have a match with Nakamura, that he would be ready to challenge for the title. But instead, Rhea volunteered Dom to take on Seth, which I don't know if you caught the moment of Dom kind of looking at her like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then he
Oh yeah.
quickly was just like, yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
It's
ready.
oh it's awesome. It's
And I was,
awesome.
and this is exactly like what we wanted with him and Cody too, was like we wanted him to be able to like step up to Cody, and that's the whole point of why we wanted him to win, you know, like as we
Yeah.
were alluding to before. Although, you know, he does face Seth and it doesn't end that way, but it's exactly so that he could have that like on his, you know, on his checklist of like who he's won, and he could be able to stand on that and try and brag about who he's beaten.
Mm-hmm.
So I do like that Rhea is doing that for him, and I've noticed that a lot more recently. I don't know if you've noticed that she's like taking challenges for Dom.
Yeah, it feels like she is just trying to get him action, and in the weird way of like, yeah, he'll do it, and it's like I'm not ready. Like I'm just a mouth. Like I just want to talk this shit and just
Yeah.
stand by your side. And all it's like, no, you got to get in the ring. And when he does get in the ring, he puts on good matches. Like he's very good. It's just I like how she's getting to that point of volunteering him for matches because he can't say that he wants a challenge for the match himself because every time that he puts a microphone remotely close to his mouth, they just boo
Hmm.
the shit out of him.
Well, and I'm wondering if it's going to become a dynamic issue, you know, in the long run, because of, you know, what they're doing with between Finn and Damien right now. I'm wondering if this is going to be something that maybe becomes an issue in their relationship, because you can tell obviously if Dom had his choice, does he want to face the world heavyweight champion? No. Because
He's wanting his ass
he
beat.
doesn't no, he knows he doesn't have a chance against Seth Rollins. The same thing, like he didn't really want to fight Cody, but it was like he was kind of thrown to it anyway. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
just wondering if it's just, you know, laying the groundwork for something that might become an issue in the future. It's just like little things like that I try to pay attention to, because we've talked
Oh,
about
yeah.
Triple H doing these little teeny things that maybe you don't notice at the moment, but it ends up becoming a bigger thing down the road. So I'm just trying to keep note of these
No, you
little,
got to in this day and age. There's so many
yeah,
little nuances throughout a feud now that if you aren't paying attention, you're not gonna get. You're gonna be lost when that
yeah,
everyone else is popping, and you're just like,
yeah,
what? So yeah.
exactly. So I'm just like, maybe just take note of that. Um, then we had Queen Shayna Baszler laying
I
it on
have
thick
so
to
much to
Ronda.
say. I am so happy. Do we have any comments about the Judgment
Oh, right,
Day
right, right, right. I didn't.
before we move on? Um, this is Cody. I'm lumping it in. Many
Okay.
compare Cody's year to John Cena in 2012. However, I honestly think Cody won't take another true loss until Roman at WrestleMania 40. There are a lot of similarities. I see what you're saying, Dickie. But the one thing that I see that's different is it's more personal and it's more personally entwined. Where Cena, it just was bad luck after bad luck. That's kind of
Mhm.
the way they were going with that. Where with Cody, it's about the journey of finally getting to the top. Cena was at the top and he
Mhm.
fell down multiple times. Cody hasn't even got to the point where he can fall down. That loss, the Rumble win, we'll say, was like a ticket to you to finally start your journey. Okay. It wasn't a part of the journey yet. Where losing at Mania was your first, like, no, you haven't even come close yet. So now him going up against Brock Lesnar, beating Dom, and then gonna, all this, it's more of a growing element to him finally capturing that gold. Where in Cena in 2012 was just more, man, he can't get anything going. He's having a rough year. And there's a difference. Is finishing the story in that journey and just a rough time.
Well, and I think there were moments in time where, in a way, they were kind of forced to have that kind of run for Cena, because so many people were complaining of Super Cena and he never loses and he'll be down the entire match. But then, in the last 2 minutes, he all of a sudden is, the Hulk, and he comes back and wins, even though in a 20-minute match he was down for 18. So I think in a way it was like 2012 was probably the peak of that for the most part. And so it was like the perfect time for them to have him go just down this really difficult road, because then people couldn't complain about him winning too much. It was like every single match he was losing. So
Uh, could the JD inner feud be a ruse to trick Seth into lowering his guard? Is that too silly and complex? No, it's not too silly. I like where your mind's going. Okay, you're there. Okay, you're trying to figure out. All right, this couldn't be that real if they're so strong, and are we saying they're so tight? And this feud with Finn and Seth. When you get really emotionally invested into something, and I'm talking about anything in life, and you have friends that are like, dude, you're like really like, just let it go, man. Just do it and move on. You're like, no, I can't. Like, that's a real world element. They're just trying to portray with this Judgment Day right now. And it kind of leads to this question of what's more likely to happen after watching Raw: Finn getting kicked out or Damien getting kicked out and turning face. I don't think any of that's going to happen. I think it's
yeah.
all, if it's not a ruse, it's serious stuff where it's like, all right, all three of you are in a triple threat match for the world heavyweight. And then you have that element where someone else from the Judgment Day comes in and ruins it, or they ruin it for themselves by accident. Maybe Dom is the really, like, the person who gets kicked out of Judgment Day or something. I don't know. It's like little shit that you just, they are, and by they, I mean creative and wrestlers themselves, are a lot more in the know, that wrestling fans are a lot more in the know now. They understand more. They don't want just the, regular shit that follows the formula. They want to be shocked. They want to be swerved a little bit as long as it makes sense. And I feel like with this feud, you can do a lot of things that have it make sense at the end of it.
Well, and I'm hoping that we see more from the Judgment Day. And, I've said it multiple times, especially because of all of these hints of a potential breakup or whatever. I think it would be a giant mistake. And we're seeing the best from all of them right now. So there's no reason for them to break up. And we talked about this after Money in the Bank too, that it makes sense for there to be tension within a group with two men that are trying to become the champion. It makes sense that they're both vying for the same opportunity and that there is going to be issues there because they're both trying to get to the same point. They're both trying to be the champion. So I don't know that that's worthy enough of breaking up, you know? I mean, like, how many groups have there been over time where there were multiple dudes doing the exact same thing? Like, they weren't talking about breaking up Evolution. You know what
No.
I mean? Because like all four of them were trying to become champions and they were champions when they were in Evolution. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I think if anyone turns face, I would say, or baby face, I would want it to be Damien, but because I need Finn to be a heel.
He's too good as a heel. You can't turn him back now. You can't.
Well, and I was just watching, I haven't finished it yet, but he was on After the Bell recently. So I was just watching his interview and I think I watched about like 20 minutes of it or so. And he was talking about how he feels so much more comfortable being a heel because up until he went to WWE, he wasn't anything but a heel. And
Yeah.
they were kind of forcing him to be a babyface and trying to fit into this mold that he was unfamiliar with. And although, you know, for the most part, he was fine. It was fine. He wasn't over the way that he is now. And so I really hope that we continue to see that because I think that he's too good right now for them to change him. And
He
I
is
would
too
say the
good.
same thing for Damien too. You know, I'm just hoping that they don't do anything with the Judgment Day at this point. So,
Yeah.
um, okay,
So
getting
back to
into
Queen
yeah,
Shayna.
Queen Shayna slaps the truth
Incredible.
onto Ronda. So Ronda comes out and she always looks like she's just like on a mission. I'm just always like, why? Like the way
And
that she comes out is just like, I
like
don't know.
she's like it's so like she just looks mad and pissed off all the time. Which I
Yeah,
get if you are trying to be a heel and all that, but like I feel like that's just her in
yeah,
general,
yeah.
and it's so off-putting.
Yeah.
So off-putting.
So as she was about to start speaking, Shayna comes out and she just immediately just started like taking it to Ronda, just immediately being like, "Hey, I speak for everybody when I say that literally nobody wants to hear you try and talk on the mic anymore. Like
It
stop
was
talking
oh my
basically."
god.
Ronda wants to know why Shayna attacked her, especially when they were in a championship match because of the timing. Like, how dare you? Why would you do that? Like, why wouldn't you wait until after? Or why wouldn't you have done this before? And then we wouldn't be in the situation, basically. Shayna tells her that she is narcissistic, says that the only reason why Ronda's even in WWE is because of her and the fact that she worked for it to get to this point. She opened the door for Ronda to just waltz on in and have everything handed to her, including a big WrestleMania match. You know, she talks about how I built rings for matches where there was only 30 people in the audience. I worked the indies, you didn't. I had a tryout, you didn't. I paid my dues and you just got handed here or handed this.
Yeah.
And she says, you know, I don't owe you an explanation, but I do owe everyone an apology for bringing you into this. And I was like, oh, the
Was
thing that I love
off.
about this though, I
Mhm.
have to say before, because then obviously they get into a brawl and Shayna beats her. But what I loved about this is like you already alluded to this a little bit earlier, is that WWE knows how much WWE fans know what is being said on social media by fans, whatever. So obviously Shayna does not mean any of this because she actually is
Yeah,
friends
you
in
have
real
to
life with
yeah.
Ronda, but she's regurgitating everything that they see online about how much people hate Ronda and the things that they hate about Ronda. I mean, we were just talking, she's horrible on the mic. She can't wrestle. She was handed everything. She's done nothing since WrestleMania, blah, blah, blah. Every single point that most people who don't like Ronda have said for years, Shayna said it immediately. And that was why it was like, other than being brilliant because you're grabbing from like real life and things that people are really saying instead of just making shit up and trying to act like people are actually saying it, there's that aspect, but it makes it more believable And that is how it was the easiest way for Shayna to get cheered for. And it worked because she was getting cheered for like she was like one of the hottest
She was so
baby.
over. In
Yeah,
that
it
one
was
moment, she was so
immediately.
over.
Yeah, immediately. So
So
it was
over it.
brilliant. It was brilliant.
It was so good because it finally launched Shayna back into where she should be, and that is the title picture. You take Ronda Rousey and throw her somewhere else away from Shayna Baszler, boom, Shayna Baszler is a perfect opponent for Rhea Ripley. And
Mhm.
all this is doing now is, I mean, confirming the reports that Ronda's gone within the year.
Well, allegedly, it's like after SummerSlam.
That's what I mean.
That's what people are saying that
Perfect.
she's going back to UFC. I don't
Great.
know, but
Bye
that's
bye.
fine. That's fine.
Nah,
Yeah.
nah, nah, nah. Nah, 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 nah. Hey,
I
goodbye.
I do find it interesting if that's true and that she's not just leaving WWE, you know, because her contract's up or she just wants to leave. I find it interesting because I mean she's taken a lot of time away from UFC, and obviously when you dedicate so much of your life to something like that, eh, generally they don't just give it up cold turkey. So like all throughout all these years, I'm sure she's still been training the way that she did similarly like while she was active. Maybe not as intense, obviously, but I mean, that's still a lot of time away from the sport. And so I find it interesting that she could possibly actually be trying to do like another UFC run because when we've seen that kind of thing in the past, it's never gone over
Uh,
well. It's not ended well for them.
you kind of bring up a good point. I kind of want to connect some dots here. So you said you might be leaving to go to UFC.
Yeah.
Who is UFC owned by? Company,
Endeavor.
not person.
Endeavor.
Who is
Yeah.
also owned by Endeavor.
WWE.
There you go.
Yeah.
It's something to
Well,
think about. I'm not saying anything, but let that sit there for a little
yeah.
bit for the peeps. Okay.
Well, and it makes sense because then
Makes
that
sense.
also gives her the opportunity to bounce back and forth or whatever. And I mean, it's getting closer to when the deal is supposed to be getting done. So, um,
Could she be
yeah.
doing stuff for
So,
liaison work? Maybe could she be spearheading some UFC, WWE stuff that is really under wraps that no one really knows about because it's not really being talked about on the surface level yet. I'm just saying, I you can't get anything past the champ. All right, I'm just come on.
so I
So
do
yeah,
like that if she really is on her way out, whether it's, you know, completely or just for, you know, how a month or whatever. I like that she is deciding that the best idea is to put her friend over and to bring back that life into Shayna Baszler that was the NXT Black and Gold era Shayna. So I do like that if she had any sort of input in that, that's like her last hurrah for now, because we've been saying it for weeks that Shayna, or months maybe at this point actually, that Shayna needed to get back to that point. So it
mhm.
will be interesting to see her as a baby face though,
Oh yeah,
because she has that hardcore like heel look to her and attitude, just like her whole vibe. So it'll be interesting. But like you said, she'd be a good opponent for Rhea. So they would have to make her babyface.
so that answers Dicky's question
Yeah.
here about I turn her face. She is a better heel, but the line is so blurred now
Well,
that you could still be a heel persona while being an over babyface with the fans.
and I think that it's funny because I saw people saying that Ronda turned heel last night. I was like, what did you think she was up till this point? I don't really understand what that means. Like, I don't
It's
understand.
like Charlotte
The
trying to be a face. It's
Well,
just
because the
not.
classic dynamic would say that Shayna turned heel because she beat up her friend. You know what I mean? But like,
Yeah, but
there's just nothing that they can do with Ronda right now to make people cheer for her. So she has to be a heel. It's not because they necessarily want her to be, but they're forced into a corner and they have to make her a heel. So, yeah, I think Shayna's on a face run right now, at least against Ronda. However long that lasts, who knows? But if she's gonna go against someone like Rhea, then she would have to be, because again, they need someone to be cheered for. So
RJ Junior Garner.
yeah.
That's a good point. I like that.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like LA Knight for a while. LA Knight was kind of in between. Like, people were going crazy for him because they liked him, but he was technically being booked as a heel. So it's like it really does scream like attitude era for
Yeah,
me. There was a lot of
And
that. Like there were of course like the top guys on either side, but there were some of those people that were like in the middle, and it didn't matter because they got attention and in a reaction no matter what they were booked to do that night. So
yeah, I mean, X Pac and Road Dogg were heels, and everyone loved them. And Billy Gunn, they were technically heels, but
DX, like
DX, that's what I'm
yeah,
saying.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, like yeah. Um, could you?
Oh yeah, let me do that. I think Rhonda has done one more comment before we get
Okay,
Rhonda done for good. She's not well liked by the fans and has issues with creative. She also has mom and schedule could be tough on her. That's why I'm saying if she's gonna go back to the UFC and do something with them, I could see it being more of a Kickstarter for them intertwining both the UFC and WWE for some sort of content or some sort of live event or whatever, because she's done both, one of the few people who has done both and has had, I would say, the most success, on the women's side at least. So, something there makes more sense, especially schedule wise and being a mom and, not wanting to get in the ring all the time. There could be another avenue where, that works for her. So I don't know. I'm very interested to see where that goes if she goes back to UFC, because we all know who owns both of those right now. So.
yeah. All right. So then we had the women's tag team turmoil match to determine the number one contenders. And I don't know about you, but I felt like this was obvious. Just given
No,
who the okay, so to me, I thought it was obvious. Just given who the current champs are, I thought it was obvious. So we
yeah,
had
I
Candice
knew you were
LeRae
gonna
and
say that.
Indy Hartwell versus Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville versus Dana Brooke and Tegan Knox
That was
versus
terrible.
Emma and Nikki Cross versus Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. So I did like that this was done because they just did it with the men's. So I liked that they did that. Obviously my boys pretty deadly one. So I was excited. I thought it was nice that they were doing it with the women's because again, that's not something I could tell you the last time that they did something like this.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we know Chelsea and Sonya end up winning. They start the match against Candice and Indy. So I kind of hated that for Indy. I felt like this was not the like Raw debut that she deserved. I felt like she
They just gonna need to get her. They need to get her face on screen,
yeah.
and
I
you
mean,
need to tease the way coming back
yeah,
in some way,
the
shape,
way
or
or
form.
DIY. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever it
So
is. So and it was good. That the the major thing I'll say about this was, I mean, there's a lot of stuff online right now about how lackluster, and even we've said it on here, lackluster the Raw women's division is, including the tag teams side of things.
yeah, we're gonna get into that.
And it was a good start. It was a good start to finally get that ball moving with how Money in the Bank's over. So now you can focus to SummerSlam and get more, women's wrestlers on the card that aren't just fighting for the tag team or world heavyweight women's, whatever. But you can maybe get like, some early matches or pre-show matches or whatever just to get people on the card where it gets more women in the division some airtime. Having excuse me, India Hartwell and Candice LeRae, they're going to be a tag team because that's just how the faction's kind of developing. So get them on. They may lose, but whatever. You establish that they're a tag team, and then you can introduce other things. Maybe Emma, because of her little thing with Nikki Cross and how Nikki's still obsessed with Candice. Maybe that could start a few. Like there were seeds planted in a good way where, yeah, it just felt that after the after party you got pinned or you knew that they weren't going to win. It was like, really? You couldn't have had the heels, I don't know. I didn't like, I think that Caden Carter, the KCs is a good word.
Yeah, I think it was just because of who the champions are. They don't want to put Kaden and Katana against Liv and Raquel right now. They don't want fans to have to choose who to cheer for between them, because they like both of them as like the top baby faces of the women's tag team vision right now. So they don't want to split hairs trying to get people to decide. But you alluded to it already, and I think that this match was, yeah, it was just the epitome of they need to develop a better women's tag team division. And we talked about this so many times that I feel like, at this point you're just beating a horse to death because it's like like beating a dead horse.
Literally.
And yeah, and this was, yeah, I understand, I like I said, I liked the idea of having a tag team turmoil match for the women, since the men just did it, but Dana Brooke and Tegan Knox, Emma and Nikki Cross, like, I understand you got to put more than like 3 teams in a match like that, so you're forced to just pair random girls, but Tegan hasn't even been on TV. Dana had a failed reunion down in NXT. Emma's been off hyping up her caw. Nikki Cross has been stalking Candice.
I just got
So
that.
like,
Well.
yeah, her engaged
Creator wrestler.
fiance.
Thaddeus Moss. What is his name?
Yeah.
Cassius Moss?
Riddick
Riddick
Moss.
Moss. Like,
Yeah.
all those 3 could be creator wrestlers.
Cassius Marsh. That's what it
Cassius
sounded
Marsh.
like.
That's who I'm thinking.
Yeah, I was gonna be like, that's a failed patriot. But yeah, I think that when this is okay. So this is the thing, right? So they're trying to bring in more athletes. Like they're not only looking at the indies and like trying to bring in people who have already learned wrestling and then kind of trying to hone in their craft and bring them into the performance center and make them into something. They're trying to bring in athletes and people who have different athletic backgrounds, even if they have no wrestling experience whatsoever, and they're trying to make them into wrestlers, which is fine. But that's what I think that they need to try and figure out, maybe while they're doing that, who of the women that you're developing are likely never going to be stars. And I think that that's like single stars. And I think that's where we run into an issue, is because you obviously don't want to just make assumptions about someone's future and what their career might look like. But it gets to a point where you're trying so hard to push so many girls on their own, and they're literally going to end up being what Emma is now, and it's like at one point Emma was like at the top of her game in NXT and should have been one of the 4 horsewomen or the 5th, you know what I mean? Like she could have
She is
very
the
well,
forgotten one.
yeah,
Yeah.
her and even like Paige at the time, so like they all that could have been them, but like there are so many girls that are in NXT that are going to come up to the main roster and be nothing, because that's just how it is. Like there's one, not room, and 2, not everyone has the it factor. Not everyone has the star power. Not everyone can be phenomenal on their own. And I feel like they kind of need to figure that out a lot sooner, because when you just then put together girls randomly, it's like, this is what we're getting. So like, even when we were watching this match last night, I said that whoever decided to put Katana and Kaden together, absolutely brilliant, because they were trying to push them individually. And not that they couldn't do it on their own, but they would never make either of them the face of the women's division.
Yeah.
I mean, not, and it's like not because they're not good in the ring, but just because if you're looking at the old age way of how they push these women, neither of them have the look or the whatever, whatever is the old,
No, you're right.
whatever. So putting them together, look at them now. They're the best, one of the best women's
tag team I've seen in a very long time.
Yeah, and so it's like, but it's good that they figured that out while they were still in NXT. And so it's like, you need to do that more often, because otherwise we're going to keep running into this issue where it's embarrassing to watch women's tag team matches where they were just like, yeah, Dana Brooke, sure, and Tegan Knox. Like, no, that's not what people want to see. And then it's like the obvious giveaway that team's not going to win, because they're not a legitimate team. I mean, it's still, even like having Raquel and Liv as a tag team, you still have to like try and like wrap your brain around the fact that they're a tag team, because again, they were randomly put together. So, but now it's like,
fantastic as a tag team.
Yeah, and they work well. I mean, it's kind of like what they did with Ricochet and Braun, and it's like it didn't make sense at first, but then it was like, okay, but you knew that they could be individual stars, and it's because you'd seen it before, then they came together and they could break apart. But now that I just went on like a 50-minute rant, But
No, it was good because we have a lot of comments from it that I'm gonna get to.
okay. Okay.
So RJ over here says it is bizarre they didn't announce Indy Hartwell or give her better treatment considering she was just champion in in the previous the last year or whatever.
Yeah.
And I agree. That's a very
Yeah.
good point.
And that's why I was saying I felt like a little disappointed for her. Like I get it, because they needed another team. They wanted to make sure that they got her on TV, like you said, and Candace back on TV, especially with all of these hints. Ciampa's back, Johnny Gargano is waiting to come back. There's all these hints of bringing back the Way or DIY. So they wanted to give us hints of this already, so it wasn't just like an explosion of all these talent that hasn't been on. But yeah, I mean, she was the last NXT Women's Champion before she came up, and she only basically had to relinquish it because she got injured, but because she also got called up. So, it's kind of like what I said originally about JD McDonough, that they just threw him in this like Rumble battle
Yeah,
royal.
they didn't announce anything. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's how. Yeah, it was just a little disappointing.
I like that Sonya and Chelsea earned their way to being Liv and Raquel's opponents. However, the tournament match showcased the lack of women's teams. I mean, you hit it right in the nail there.
Well, and that's why I felt like Sonya and Chelsea were the obvious choices, because you knew that the last time that Raquel and Liv had the titles, Sonya and Chelsea were coming for them. So, and they've become one of the only legitimate tag teams other than the newly called up Katana and Kaden. So to me, it just made the most sense. And that's why I felt like, okay, cool. Yeah, this is what's going to happen. But at least it was them and it wasn't, Tegan and Dana that were giving the chance. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, that would have been. Oh, I would not have liked that win.
I know.
WWE have several women's talent, but not main event championship worthy women. People like Emma, Candice, and Tegan are fan favorites, but need more match times for the casual audience to like and care. I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I absolutely agree with this. That they just need more time, whether it is a casual match, a backstage segment for a couple weeks to develop their characters on screen. I agree there. POG, they're gonna push Chelsea Green. They're
They
pushing
are.
her right now.
Yeah. Well, just what, 2 weeks ago, she had that whole TikTok compilation. I mean, that wasn't cheap effort. That was like a whole media effort for them to do that.
You don't do that. You don't do that if you're just a one-off with somebody. Like they have plans for her.
Yeah, exactly. So,
I did love this. They did bring back the smoke guns.
Yes.
When you're talking about building up a tag team, this is a perfect example outside of the squared circle. You need to have them attached to something that's memorable.
Mm-hmm.
And this part of their entrance was so memorable in NXT. I know it was a little bit easier because it's a smaller arena and you can go into the crowd and do do it in the crowd. But all right, on the bigger stages, have them come out with it or do, on the entrance ramp, on the stage, whatever area, and then have it walk down. Maybe give them some pyro or, other smoke when they get into the ring, whatever. But they need an entrance like this because it legitimizes them as a tag team. And it's like, oh, they're getting this type of entrance. Oh, okay, they're pretty good then. That's all. Like, you need to do this type of shit to put over women's tag teams. Look at the Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. Their entrance is sick.
Yeah, I know.
They
could have been a part of that match too, but they're not on Raw, so I guess that's why. But
that's the only thing
But it would have legitimized it, because they are a legitimate tag team. But again, those two were being pushed for solo careers as well, and it's not that can't happen in the future. But they were like, wait a second, let's take advantage of the fact that these girls are, first of all, both Scottish, second of all, really unique. And they would work really well together and could be a really great tag team. Again, that's what I'm saying is we need to figure this out because sometimes they could be better as a tag team than solo by themselves, single stars. And sometimes they just wait too long. I mean, I would much rather, if I were in that position, I would much rather feel like I'm never going to have a singles career as much as maybe I had dreamt about it than, be in catering every single week or and I hate to use her as an example, but it's just because it's relevant. I would hate to be Dana Brooke, begging on Twitter to be given a chance. You know what I mean? Because that to me is more defeating than just being paired with a girl and we are put on killer matches. And I'm upset because it's a tag team. You know what I mean? I think you kind of get over that because look at legendary tag teams.
They didn't.
Hello.
No one when it. I mean, the most legendary tag team of all time, the Road Warriors. They didn't want to be a tag team, but
Yeah.
this guy was just like, "Listen, you guys both have the it factor. You work well, and we see a vision here." And look at they became the most well-known tag team of
Mhm.
all time. One of them.
Well, and who's the most well-known women's tag team?
It's
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. There's a
oh
huge hole there. Like, wouldn't it be cool to be like? I mean, some would say, okay, the Bella Twins, but like they, I wouldn't say they thrived
no,
together
that is
or
not a
thrived
tag.
apart.
I'm
But you know,
sorry.
I'm just saying they were
I'm saying it to the peeps, not you.
yeah,
Yes,
they were a duo for like their entire careers. Basically, they were always attached. But
in life.
they yeah, I mean they shared a womb. But yeah, I think that it's like that would be something that would be kind of cool. Like obviously when you're dreaming about being a wrestler, unless you have a best friend that you grow up with like the Iconics and you both dreamt of the same thing and you always wanted to do it together, most likely you're dreaming about winning the WWE championship, you know? But like sometimes especially in the women's division, I feel like it would be a cool goal to try and find a girl that you could like you worked really well with and you could do really cool stuff with because that's like I said, that's a giant hole in the industry and a goal could be to be like the first women's tag team put into the Hall of Fame. Like that it would be incredible.
That would be a good goal to have.
Yeah, I
Way
think so.
more. I just love this comment. Emma Piper Niven and Zia Lee are very talented and deserve to be in the main title picture more. I agree. Piper
I don't
Niven is what Nia Jax should have been.
yeah.
I think she's a lot better in the ring. She comes from that European English style of brutal wrestling. I've seen clips and compilation videos and whatnot. Like she could be a really good piece in the women's division if used right. Put her in a tag team with someone who's a little shorter or is more of a mouthpiece than a baby face when it comes to the ring. You know what I mean? So
Mhm.
I think if you put her in a heel tag team, she could really do well. And then even in the singles picture as well. I mean, develop her enough where you could get her against Rhea Ripley or someone, and have her go off there. I really like that. Um, comment. What was this? I think all women's show could help. Where women's matches are just not give enough time to get over unless it's for a title like Rhea or Natalie. Even in Natalia, I mean, you've been saying that,
Yeah,
Sarah.
we talked about that, about an all women show, even if it was just a 1 hour thing on Wednesday or something, just because it's in the middle of the week. We've talked about it. Even I don't know, even if they did
But
it
on
on
Peacock,
Thursday or Sunday, yeah, something like. I mean,
put on
I
their
don't
YouTube.
know how many viewers that they get for like main events and whatever. I mean, I assume that it's enough for it to continue to be
Yeah, it's a
taped,
dark show.
but
Yeah,
um yeah, I think that it is something that they should consider in the future. Like we have a whole video on that somewhere on the channel.
in the archives, go check it out. Sarah
Yeah,
Marshall XO on YouTube if you
yeah,
want it.
somewhere.
In the 400 videos that we have. Oh,
Yeah,
RJ stands the Bella Twins. Oh, Sarah, we got beef.
we have
You
beef.
can look, but you can't touch. You can't
I'm
breathe,
sorry,
but
they're not
it's
called the Bella Twins anymore. They're the Garcia twins because everyone knows who the heck they are. Anyway, don't get me started. I don't wanna insult
No,
our
you're right. We need to keep going, and you go. You keep the show
yeah,
rolling. We got
I'm gonna skip one thing because I don't think we have a whole lot to say about it. So anyway,
what
could you
was
get
it?
rid of could you get rid of the comment?
Oh, sorry. I'm all up in. There we go.
I'm skipping Becky and Trish because there's not a whole lot to say unless you have a lot to say.
No, I just loved where that Trish brought back the Rip Hamilton mask.
Oh
That is
yeah.
the only thing I have to say that I loved.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. So that's the only thing that I really had to say is that I love being able to see masked Trish back. Um Obviously they're trying to set that up for SummerSlam, which I'm for, and I love that it's just like ironic that Becky broke Trish's nose. I don't know the severity of it. I don't know if it really is broken. I don't know. I haven't read about it, but it's just ironic, because it was something that she kept saying like,
Ironic.
"Hey, Becky, you only got over or people only cared about you when they broke your nose." So it's just kind of funny that then it ended up happening to her. Um, but I wanted to make sure to talk about our alpha queen, Maxine.
Oh, we have to talk about her. This was
So
one of my favorite parts
she's
of the
given
night.
me an excuse to have to talk about the Viking Raiders, which it's like But anyway,
Valhalla.
I ew. I'm so here
Ew.
for Alpha Academy right now. I loved Maxine's updated gear. It fits her amazing. It fits with them so well. Like I was just obsessed about everything with this match, okay? Other than the fact that it was the Viking Raiders, okay? So the crowd again, super hot for them, which is something that they've done on their own, which is something I wanted to mention. They are a group that did this on their own. This was not what was supposed to happen. The original plan was not for Maxine to join the Alpha Academy. It was supposed to be that she was going to take Otis away from Chad Gable, that there was going to be this inner tension, which, I mean, they even alluded to it for weeks, that there was some sort of drama between Otis and Gable. So I love that they decided, like, no, the fans are not reacting to that. They're reacting more to this like 3-man group. You know what I mean?
Yeah, faction.
So I love that whoever came up with the idea for her to have like matching gear with them to go with the singlet. I'm obsessed. I love it. I love that it looks exactly like how you would think that her gear would look too. Um, she did the few moves that we've seen Gable teach her in the ring, and she really went all the way and brought out the caterpillar.
That was one of the funniest little things, and when she just gets all shaky and then she just goes right into it. Oh,
I
awesome.
I loved it because you can tell that's something she learned recently, because that is not natural. Obviously, the way she was doing the worm is not super accurate to how the worm is supposed to, you're not supposed to like stop and then do
Yeah,
it
yeah,
again,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
so I love that that was something that maybe she thought like, oh wait, I need to learn how to do this because I want to do this in our match, so I thought
She's
that was
very in
cool.
tune. If she was on After the Bell, she's very in tune right now and wanting to be a sponge and learn as much as she can. So
Yeah,
I would
which,
agree there.
I mean, she's learning from, I mean, Gable. Like you can't learn how to wrestle from anyone better right now,
He's
especially like, and I feel like there's a cool dynamic between a woman learning directly like that from a man who has a technical background, and it's not just a background in professional wrestling. Like he literally was an Olympic
Mhm.
wrestler, and he's so phenomenal in the ring. He's not an overly large
Yep.
guy, so it's not like you're learning from Braun Strowman. You know what I mean? Like I
Mhm.
think it's perfect for her. I
Yeah.
think that it was amazing how they won. The whole thing afterwards and having her on their shoulders. I think it's like one of the best creative decisions that WWE has done in recent memory. And I am excited that this is continuing, because this is not something that, if you asked me a few months ago, that I think that we'd be sitting here excited about and like, laughing about and being like, wow, it's so great. Not at all.
Do you think Chad Gable should be WWE champion within the next 5 years?
I mean, it's hard for me to say because I think that he has all of the talent. Obviously, he can perform in the ring. Obviously, he can talk to the mic. He can run circles around people. But I think it would depend on who the champion was, and it would just have to feel like the right moment, because it screams like Rey Mysterio to me. Where it was like Rey Mysterio being champion just never felt right necessarily, just because of his size, and he's so much smaller, and it's like similar to Gable, because obviously he's not an overly big guy, but when Rey won the world heavyweight title, it felt like the right moment to do that. And so
Mhm.
I feel like it would just depend on the timing and the opponent and the story, if it would make any sense, because like I think that he could be like a great champion, like if he ever, whenever Gunther decides to lose the title, I
Yeah.
think he could be a great intercontinental champion. But it's so hard to imagine what could be happening with the world heavyweight title right now. And it's always weird when a smaller guy is world heavyweight champion too. It's just because you automatically go to like size. But
Yeah.
I think that he has everything that a champion would need to be champion.
Yeah, that's where I'm
But
going. That he has it to be a champion. The problem is that with the introduction of the world heavyweight, you need Seth to have a lengthy run or at least a couple good feuds with people like a Damian Priest or the others. And then the fact that the WWE, the real WWE title, is being held hostage by the bloodline. So that's why I say within the next 5 years, because the title picture is going to change. You're going to see guys like Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa, who are going to be your next crop of, main event champions. He could easily be in the mix of that. I mean, he's got so much Kurt Angle to him, not only with the athleticism, but he's so good on the mic. And that is such an important piece to being champion that goes under the radar. And when someone like Gable, you only think of his size and the wrestling ability, but having him do these comedic little sketches backstage shows the range of how far he can go. And I mean,
it
if
was
you put
so Kurt Angle last night. Like,
so
so
Kurt
Kurt
Angle.
Angle.
It was so Kurt Angle last
And
night.
not
Like,
even like intentionally,
it's
because
on
I
a
think
bad way. Yeah, it's on a bad way.
Yeah, well, because I think, when you say something like that, which we'll get into like with another person in a minute, but when people say things like that, especially with a guy like Gable, most people are like, oh, okay, yeah, he's like Kurt Angle because he wears a singlet and he was in the Olympics. Okay. Like it's the easiest thing to say. But I think this is just who Gable is, like it doesn't, it's like the way that it was with Kurt too, the silly comedic segments that he was doing, it didn't feel forced. It felt like, no, that's part of Kurt, so I think, yeah, there's definitely similarities between him and Kurt, but I don't think it's them trying to recreate Kurt Angle in a guy that's similar to him. You know what I mean?
No, I agree. Yeah.
Okay, so now it looks like they're going to be going with Ricochet versus Logan Paul, which we've been saying basically since the Royal Rumble that this was going to happen at some point. It's just going to take 6 months for that to happen, 7 months. So we saw what happened at Money in the Bank, where they had their couple moments, which I thought was crazy that there were people coming for Ricochet over that table spot. I don't think that people realized how much he fucking saved Logan's life.
Yeah, that anyone saying that it's somebody's fault, like, no, they landed on the ropes wrong, still wanted to get the spot over, so they did it the best they can. Logan, as much shit as we give him, is a professional in the way where he knows what he's doing that way. But Ricochet has been doing this for a lot longer.
Logan forgot to duck his head to tuck his chin. So that's the biggest thing that you watch is like people were saying, oh, this, and that. It was so dangerous. I can't believe Ricochet did that. Do you not realize that he forces Logan to tuck his chin? If he didn't do that, it would be way worse of a situation.
Dead. Yeah.
So it's like, you can't be shaming Ricochet for this. You know what I mean? I mean, that was going to be a hard spot anyway, because they were trying to balance after falling off of the ladders onto the ropes and then use the ropes to then backflip like off of them onto the tables. Like, it was a hard thing anyway. Yeah. And so the fact that anyone was saying anything about Ricochet, I'm like, are you insane? Like, no. I mean, the fact that Logan trusted him enough to be like, it's just ridiculous. But anyway, so he calls out Logan over what happened at Money in the Bank because they showed us a little video package of them like brawling backstage because I guess Logan like called him out and whatever. I don't know if that's what they're going with. Like, oh my God, I can't believe that you did that to me on the table.
I know what happened. So.
You do?
Yeah. So that apparently that spot was supposed to be a lot more viral, if that makes sense. Was not supposed to be looking like that. And that was supposed to be the catalyst for their feud for SummerSlam.
That was the first I saw of them brawling.
Yeah, so they brawled and put it as a segment like that to give a little bit more legitimacy to why they would have a match at SummerSlam.
All right. I mean, I don't care. I knew that this was going to happen anyway, but
I mean, yeah, anyone with a wrestling brain could figure that out. Yeah.
So we knew this was gonna happen. Ricochet calls out Logan to be like, hey, like, instead of doing this back and forth like via video or whatever, why don't we meet face to face next week on Raw? So apparently that is scheduled to happen next week. So, we've like we said a million times, we knew that this was going to happen. So at this point, I'm fine with this happening. I think this could be a good match. If what we've seen so far in these random moments that they have had in the Royal Rumble and in this match are any indication of how good their match is going to be, then I think it could be a match of the night. And I hate to say that because of Logan Paul, but I do think that it could be a contender at SummerSlam. But my bigger issue is they've been teasing LA Knight as a babyface for a couple weeks now because they're going with the hype. Like everyone's cheering for him, and we're trying to make them not cheer for him, but they keep cheering for him anyway. We even talked about how they had him versus Theory in like a dark match or at the house show, whatever they had, the live event when they were over in England. Obviously, if you're having him go against Theory, you're booking him as a babyface because Theory is not a babyface. So, but leading up to Money in the Bank, they had LA Knight specifically exchanging words and having these like one-on-one moments with Logan Paul. I mean, he interrupted him during the
Grayson Waller effect.
Grayson Waller effect and whatever. So it seemed like okay, because there were people that were even in the chat when we were talking about it that thought, oh, okay, maybe LA Knight versus Logan Paul at SummerSlam, which I got a little excited about just because I was like, okay, that's cool. Like LA Knight's first big match on the main roster was against Bray Wyatt. Okay, cool. By summer, he's now having one with Logan Paul. Like that's cool. Okay, that's fine. But it looks like they're not going in that direction.
No.
So to me, I felt like I don't really understand the point of them teasing this if this was not the direction, because to me, this is where I get irritated. So, you know, they kind of teased the whole thing of Theory in LA Knight potentially because, you know, they posted like how over LA Knight was over with the crowd during the Money in the Bank weekend against Theory. But then like Theory this week is going to have a match against Sheamus with Pretty Deadly in his corner. And I'm like, okay, so they're not going with the LA Knight angle at this point unless LA Knight gets involved somehow, which makes no sense in my opinion. But
they'll figure
like,
it out. Yeah.
I just don't understand the point. And then you hear Triple H talking about the decision to not have LA Knight win Money in the Bank. And he's like, you know, like, I understand that the fans wanted it and he was like so favorited to win and people wanted to see that, but good things come to those who wait. And I just want to be like, how much fucking longer are we supposed to wait? And then you tease 2 feuds for him and you're like, nope, we're doing something else. Like, I just feel, I don't know. I feel like we're being teased. I feel like we're being manipulated. I feel like I'm feeling very bothered, to put it lightly.
So cause it's let me get this because I understand what they were doing here.
Of course
They had of course, that's why I'm the champ. So they want Logan Paul and Grayson Waller effect to promote Money in the Bank and whatever, and with him. They brought him out because they knew they needed to have someone come out and, you know, pretty much feud with him on the mic or whatever. And who's going to get you the biggest pop at LA Knight? So they have LA Knight come out, do that thing with Logan. It was just a one-off, you know, just a one-off to me. It feels like they are going to do a thing with Theory because of what Triple H said of good things come to those who wait. So, you know, a lot of this stuff with LA Knight of this, like, it seems like he's just treading water right now and everyone's trying to help him and everyone wants to help him, but they're kind of at a gridlock with creative. But I think that good things are come from because I mean, did you hear that pop when he climbed the ladder?
Oh
That's
my
all
god.
he needed. That's all he needed to
And I just rewatched the men's match because my sister missed, like, she totally forgot that the show was on because it was on at noon, so it was a weird time.
clearly.
And when she finally realized that she missed it, or forgot about it, the men's Money in the Bank just ended, so she didn't see it. And I was like, okay, let's watch it. And then I just got to rewatch it. So I just, yeah, it was insane how loud it was. So I mean, I don't want to be pessimistic, you know what I mean? But it's like we've been saying this for a long time that especially since Bray Wyatt is MIA. And so that kind of screwed LA over. And it just feels like there hasn't been long-term plans for him basically since his feud ended with Bray. And so I'm just I'm feeling restless because I just feel like he's only gotten hotter, obviously, since the end of January when the Royal Rumble was. And we're still sitting here like, so who's this feud going to be? Like, so I just feel pessimistic about it because, you know, it's just like it was difficult for me to believe Vince McMahon. It's very difficult for me to believe Triple H because at the end of the day, they're doing the same job. So
true. Okay, I can see here. your worries. Would
Yes.
make sense. I empathize.
Then we move on to Rhea Ripley versus Natalya, and
That was a hell of a match.
it really was. So this started off great, I think. So, you know, based off of the other two matches that we've seen between the two of them, I think it was two, right? 2 or 3 matches, I don't know.
Yeah, 2 with night champions and then the no contest.
Okay. So it didn't look great. There wasn't a lot of promise, or at least you didn't think so for this match. So I love that Natty came out ferocious and was like, I'm going to attack you this time because you can't sneak up on me, girl. I'm going to sneak up on you. And I just felt this, you know, at first it kind of looked like, okay, Natalya is taking it to Rhea, and I kind of wasn't liking that. Only because you can't go from one side of the spectrum to the other. You cannot have her against Natty and having her beat the crap out of Natty and get nothing in, and then having Natty beat the crap out of her and making her look weak as fuck. You know what I mean? So I was kind of like not digging that at first, but I like that this was like quite a long match. I think it was like 2 or 3 commercials.
It went too
And
big.
and as I said, I felt like this was a match that they both needed. It legitimized both of them. Natty for being an actual good competitor in the ring, even if she has been around forever and people don't necessarily care to see a Natty match at this point. But it's also exactly what Rhea needed, because Rhea hasn't been doing anything since WrestleMania. Again, not her fault, but they haven't been putting her in matches against legitimate opponents. And so I felt like, yeah, this is exactly what they both needed. It proved why Rhea is champion and why she should still be champion. And I was really excited about it, actually, which surprised me. But
yeah, I echo all those thoughts. You need to have, this was a good match to legitimize Rhea in her title run first. All right, legit title defense. Now she can move on to people like Raquel or
yeah, and they teased that.
tease it a little bit with all that. So I just feed it to me.
I know. So I liked that because it kind of felt a little random when they showed Natty backstage before the match and she had Liv and Raquel with her. Like, it just felt kind of random because it was like, okay. I mean, it is what it is. They do that all the time. So it's like, all right, that's random, but whatever. And then when the match ended and Rhea was like, I won, she started to beat up Natty again, which I was here for it. And I was like, yeah, girl, beat that ass. And then they come out and they're like, no, Rhea, you can't do that to our fan, Natty. And then Raquel just like comes to her, you know, face to face. And so I was like, I am here for this because that is what I want to see. And unfortunately, we're going to have to wait a while because I can't imagine they're going to have Raquel go for the women's title at the same time as being tag team champion. But regardless, I don't care if it happens next week or if it happens, you know, in a month, 6 months from now. I'm excited because I think Raquel is the next in line, at least, you know. Okay. And then since now we have 9 people here, and we're going to be talking about my mans.
There you go.
I want to show you guys because we talked about it was wrestling shirt season, guys. It was wrestling shirt season. Look at
Imperium.
Oh my god, I was just so washed out. That was nasty.
That was really white. You were.
That was like, that's my real skin color, guys. I'm sorry. I'm a vampire.
Jasper.
Sometimes I like I shine, you know, I glitter. I glisten.
Bright like a diamond.
I'm like Edward Cullen when it comes to the sun, but Seamus pale. In actuality, I am pretty Seamus pale.
You are really Seamus pale, yeah.
Yeah, how do you even know, dude?
I have a camera that has pretty good picture.
Anyway, okay, so we got Giovanni Vinci versus Matt Riddle, which I hated every second of.
Why?
Because the match was too short.
Way too short. I agree that. Way too short.
Yeah, it was way too short, and it was trying to make Vinci look bad. Again, why? Okay, look at his matches in NXT back when he was like, I don't even know what it was, but he was like supposed to be like, he's so hot or something, because when they came out, he had, first of all, he is hot, so that's, you know, it works. But they would have him like having like different pictures, like he was like posing and it was like whatever. And so but he was phenomenal, and I'm like, okay, why do we not get to see that when he's in Imperium? I don't understand it. So that was one part I didn't like. And then after Riddle wins, Vinci and Kaiser attack him as Gunther stands there and watches, which I was here for. I was like, oh, okay, so this is continuing which I wasn't here for. But it is what it is, okay? And so they're doing that, and then we hear the swords, and Mr. Drew McIntyre decides, Mr. Drew McIntyre decides that he is going to come in and help out his bro. And so he has a little stare down with Gunther. And in case you guys didn't know, Drew McIntyre returned at Money in the Bank, and it was to face off with Gunther, which I am here for that as long as Gunther doesn't lose, because there's a lot of rumors about Drew McIntyre taking the title from him, and I will complain a lot for a long time if that happens. And I love Drew McIntyre, but Gunther, excuse me. You know, there's a reason I'm wearing an Imperium shirt and not a Drew McIntyre shirt. And especially like they can't have Gunther lose before he breaks the Honky Tonk Man's record or whoever's record he needs to break right now.
He can't lose. He cannot lose.
No, excuse me. No. So that, whatever. I'm excited for that match whenever it happens, as long as Gunther wins, as I said. But the other main thing is, and I'm sorry, I am so sorry to all of the Matt Riddle fans out there, but I have to break some bad news to you. It is very clear that WWE has no confidence in Matt Riddle to get over on his own, because they are now going from pairing him with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn to now pairing him with Drew McIntyre. Like, I feel like I need to just take a second to just like form my thoughts.
Yeah, I'll give you that second. You're getting all worked. This has been a very huge show for thoughts.
I'm sorry.
What? No, you're fine. You have a lot to say. Let it out, girl.
I know. But when you say like it's been all about you, it just makes me feel bad.
No, because I have a lot of shows where I just ramble and ramble. I was very satisfied with this. A lot of what happened on the show. So you clearly did not like this. I was okay with it, but if you don't like it,
you don't have any opinion on Matt Riddle being forced on another person. Again,
no, because I don't see it going long. I think it's just he's bouncing around.
They already have it scheduled for next week, and they grabbed some beers last night. They grabbed a couple pints together.
They're not gonna. It's not gonna be Drew McIntyre and Matt Riddle going for the tag team titles. Like they're just doing it because they're wrapping up one feud to segue into another.
Maybe I'm just and I hope that's what it is. But they also had him staple gunned to Seth Rollins for too long. They had him as the annoying, redheaded stepchild, ironically, with KO and Sammy. And so I don't want to see that again. Drew McIntyre, he doesn't need Matt Riddle. I don't think
anyone really needs Matt Riddle.
Well, and that's the thing is this is what I love too. Was it at Money in the Bank where he got like no reaction? Did you notice that?
Yeah, he got like a reaction.
He got like no reaction in Europe. In Europe. European fans are smart. They are good. They are smart wrestling fans. Okay. They will tell you who should be pushed most of the time. I'm not saying 100% of the time. Most of the time they are very intuitive with like who you should be pushing, who you should not be pushing, whatever. Right. They didn't really give him that much of a reaction. Of course there were like, bro chants. Of course there always is. Right. But he got like no reaction. And I was like, ooh, I loved it because I was disappointed with the fact that they didn't cheer for Gunther. And I was like, really? Really? Your continent mate wasn't worthy?
He did not get cheered.
I know. I thought that was very rude because I was like, you went crazy for Drew McIntyre. He's not from here. But anyway, I thought that was interesting. So I'm just curious, whatever. I'm just over it. I feel like if you want to keep Matt Riddle around, then you need to stop having him leech off of somebody else. Like push him as a solo thing, have him do his own thing, because everybody's like expecting for Randy Orton to come back and then partner with him or even feud with him. And I'm like, what has he done to even warrant tag teaming again with Randy Orton or going against Randy Orton? Nobody gets just thrown into a feud with Randy Orton. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's like that guy that is like John Cena. Like John Cena doesn't come back to feud with just anybody. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
agreed.
So
Hey, main event Fro or Frau agrees with
no,
you, Sarah.
Fro.
Fro.
Matt Riddle does suck. That is right.
Bernard agrees with us too. We like
Yep.
it.
Yep.
Oh, Bernard's got a birthday coming up. Happy
Hey,
birthday.
that's my
We will.
sister's birthday.
Oh my
Oh
God.
my god, you guys are twins.
So crazy in
Yeah,
the
that is
yard
crazy.
streams. We're just learning about birthdays and whatnot.
I know. Oh my gosh, we're going on really long, but that's okay.
We are. It's a long episode, but I'm
I
in.
know. But people are enjoying it. Okay.
It's
I
all we
am
have.
too. It's because
Well,
I
we
won't
have to talk about this.
it's because I won't shut up. That's why it's going on
You
so
have a
long.
lot to what I said. You have a lot to say.
All right. So we finally get to the main event. We have Dirty Dom versus Sexy Sethy. Wow. And I only say that, guys, because he said it about himself. I am not saying that Rollins is sexy. Okay.
What? You don't think Seth Rollins is sexy?
No.
Really?
No, he's not. No.
Really? No,
There's
like dead serious. I thought he would be someone that you're like in this. He fits the check marks.
Do I think he's attractive in a way? Yes, but I'm like, to me, there's only like certain dudes, if we're getting into this for sure, like
I'm just curious because
there's only certain men that like I feel deserve to be called sexy. You know,
Okay.
like there's just a certain thing. Like I don't even know who are the sex like one person that I always have always thought was sexy, and it's like because of their vibe. Lenny Kravitz. So sexy. But like that to me, it's like because of his vibe, there's just like something about it. But like that, I couldn't say like Seth Rollins and Lenny Kravitz are the same.
I don't
You know
think
what
they
I mean?
are at all.
No,
I
but
don't
Lenny
think they're the
Kravitz
same
is.
at all.
You don't think Lenny Kravitz?
I
I mean, I'm
I
not asking
love
you to
Lenny
think.
Kravitz. I have
Okay,
a
but
weird
he's
obsession with Lenny Kravitz.
okay, but he's
American
sexy.
woman. Bam,
Yeah, no,
bam.
he's sexy. But that's the thing. It's like hard to describe it because I feel like
So funny.
people use that word loosely, but to me, it like holds a lot more weight, or like it's a different definition than just saying someone's hot or someone's attractive. You know what I mean?
I agree with
Like I
that.
wouldn't
Yeah.
like John Cena's not sexy to me. Like even though I love him, I don't even know if there's a wrestler that I would say is sexy. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Interesting.
Maybe
I'm
like
very
young Scott Hall.
younger. Yeah. Did you see that
Yeah.
Otis did the razor?
Yes.
I
love
forgot to mention that we were talking Alpha Academy, but he did do the 1, 2, 3 like that.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Anyway, so this was a decent match. It wasn't too long. Seth wins via DQ because Damian interferes to beat up Seth, which I was here for because, you know, I wanted an unpredictable ending. Obviously, you think that this is just going to end with Seth just getting a victory over Dom Dom. So I like that it didn't end that way. Damian continues to attack Seth, and then Dom Dom's like, "Hey, why don't you cash in right now, dude? Why don't you just cash in right now, bruh?" And Damian was like, I'm sorry. When I have these conversations out loud, I'm like, what am I doing? These are the conversations I have in my
These
head.
are awesome. No, it adds a little.
But
We love
it's
it.
like people are gonna watch this video and be like, what the hell is wrong with this chick? And I'm gonna be like, that's when they start calling me a pick me girl. They're like, oh great, another pick me wrestling girl. And I'm like, what? If anything, I go against what everyone is saying. Actually, yeah, on TikTok they've been calling me pick me wrestling girl. I've gotten that comment a lot, and I don't know if it's because I like the heels, but I'm like, I'm not, or like I shit on Ronda or something. Like, I first of all, I don't.
People, but they're a pick me person if they're over Ronda. All right, I'm sorry.
Well, but the thing is like I'm not shitting on every girl and being like, I hate women's wrestling, men's wrestling. Like, I feel like that would be more of being a pick me, but also me liking heels is not being a pick me. That's literally how I've been since I started watching wrestling. So
it's the opposite of that, though.
Yeah. But you know, people, it's because going against the norm is like being a pick me. I don't fucking know. I'm too old. Okay. I am too old to understand internet slang. Anyway, so yeah, so he's like, cash in, bro. And Damian's like, oh, I don't know, man. And then as he's about to just get in that ring and be like, I'm gonna do something about this briefcase. Mr. Finn Balor, the love of my life, he's like, I'm back, baby. And I was like, yes, king. And he comes in and he sneak attacks Seth and gets a disqualification. And then that's
No,
when
it was already DQ'd.
well, whatever. Yes. Sorry. I'm just getting all like
Yeah,
my
Finn
mind is a
came
little
in.
fuzzy when I start
No,
thinking
you
about
think
Finn
there's just
Balor.
so much just sex
There's just,
appeal going on in your head
yeah,
right now with
there's
Lenny
too many
Kravitz. We
too
got
many
Damian
bays.
Priest,
We got
Finn Balor.
yeah,
There's so much
Bamian.
machismo
There's just
oozing in your head that
yeah, I'm just like
let me take it. Because when Finn Balor came in
yes.
and knocks over or he hit Seth into the ref that hit or whatever, whoever
Yes.
just knocked domino effect.
Yeah.
Sexy. Never mind. Continue. I see you got me going.
Okay.
So
Anyway.
he hits that, and I love this because it adds that element of did Finn know? Did Finn see Damian go in and try to cash in, then comes down and does that? Or is he still, we're going with that? He's so upset still that he didn't get that win. And he saw that Finn or Rollins was laying out and Damian got a piece of him. Dominic got a piece of him. He wants a piece of him too. And he just got so caught up in the moment that it inadvertently cost his partner a shot at the WWE title, which flipping the switch here, it's kind of what happened on Money in the Bank. So it's another element to the story that I love. And I want to get this comment out because I saw it and I just this image in my head of when they're arguing.
Yeah.
And Dom's like, guys, like literally like a little kid to the parents arguing.
Mom and dad are fighting again.
Fighting, but wait, there's something going on over here. And he escapes. Dom's like, oh, I gotta go solve it. Pedigree out of nowhere.
Yeah.
It was a great exchange and closing to the show.
Yeah. And then of course you kind of get a little bit of insight into what Damian and Finn are saying to each other as they're going off the air, and like what were you doing, or what was that, why did you do that? And it's like, oh, it's not that deep, bro, like you need to stop letting this control you. Like that's what Damian was saying. So they're going with, I mean, basically the same thing that we've heard from Damian even after Money in the Bank of like, oh no, like that's my brother, like it's not that deep, we're just both doing the same thing. So I'm fine with this. Like I said when we talked about this earlier, I'm fine with a little bit of the tension as long as this isn't the building blocks to ending the Judgment Day. That is not something I want to see. So but yeah, it's great. Again, like I said, they are the bloodline on Raw. We started the show with the Judgment Day. We end the show with the Judgment Day with like a cliffhanger. So I'm so here for this. But anyway, we can talk. We can talk about the Raw preview and stuff. Maybe we can talk about that on Thursday. So since we've been going for an hour and a half.
We've been going for a very long time, so we will save that for Thursday because I get a little. I was thinking about this today. We alluded to it that we have AEW talk, and that was, I think, our most popular video over the weekend was the Jungle Boy heel turn in a way, and maybe that is our foot in the door for AEW stuff that we could do on Thursday, along with the regularly scheduled stuff of Lemon and Rosebud and 3 Count. SummerSlam is 5 weeks away, so maybe we do a little intro to SummerSlam. Sarah, I did want to ask you this before we close here, because you know how when it is a pay-per-view, a certain pay-per-view season, I love to do the rewatch of old stuff. And I want to know where am I starting tonight with SummerSlam, because I don't want to go all the way back to Hulk Hogan.
You should watch the ones I was at. 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013.
Honestly, I might do that because I don't think I've watched those in full.
Actually, I wasn't at 2013, but
I didn't watch those in full, and that was during my hiatus of a wrestling fan. So I would like to go back and rewatch those stuff because I always find myself watching the late 90s, early 2000s stuff, and then once I get to like 05, 06, I'm like, oh, I don't want to know.
Well, remember, I think it's 2011 maybe when I told you that we sat and we had our Divas Championships on the barrier in front of us, and the light, the spotlight keeps glaring off of it, so you can see that's where we are.
Okay,
me and my friend. I think that's
2011 Nexus.
2010, I think, is Nexus. Team WWE versus
Team Nexus.
Nexus.
That was
I think it's, yeah,
2010.
I believe
Yeah, I
so.
don't want to
Yeah.
watch that one.
Yeah,
I've
I was,
seen
yeah.
highlights of that so many times. I don't need to rewatch it. But I would watch 2011.
Yeah.
I'll do it tonight. Okay.
And I was, yeah, and then I went to 2012. I don't think I went to 2013. I went to the Raw like a week afterwards, I think. So,
Okay.
yeah, I think that was Cena Lesnar when Lesnar obliterated Cena. So,
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
and then I like almost cried because Cena wasn't there on Raw, and then he came out on SmackDown instead, and I didn't have my Cena shirt on, and he walked around the perimeter when I was front row, and I didn't have my Cena shirt, so I was like, this is awesome. This is like such great luck for me. But anyway,
Yeah, we'll
I
be
have a
back.
lot of SummerSlam memories I could share too, because I went to
Here we go.
3 SummerSlams and 4 SummerSlam accesses in a row.
Oh,
So
wow. Yeah, we might
yeah.
do an episode on that. We could do something. We have a lot to in the next 5 weeks. We have a lot to cover with
Yes.
SummerSlam. AEW is coming up. All In, that's coming up, and I think that that'd be a great show for you, Sarah, to watch to get you into AEW because that's what the people want. They want us to be talking some elite wrestling, not just the world wrestling entertainment, sports entertainment. So thank you, everyone, for tuning into this edition of Pitts and Sarah's Wrestling Show Raw Rewind. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at Pat_Pitts and at SMarshXO. You're already watching on her YouTube channel, so just hit that subscribe button if you are, okay? And go check out our videos, YouTube Shorts, archive. If you don't have an hour and 30 minutes to watch this entire thing with us. It's been a long show, but we thank you to everyone who stayed through. We really appreciate it. And, follow us on TikTok as well at SMarshXO. Did I say Instagram? I don't think so. Pitsy35 and at SMarsh_. So thank you guys for tuning in to this edition of the Raw Rewind. We'll be back on Thursday for our other show. God bless. Remember that you can do it. All you got to do is try. We will see you next episode. Yeah.